When was ever the last time you talked with Charlie Kirk?
I knew Kirk slightly. We had been at events together 4 or 5 times. One of them was the big Yakima Lincoln Day dinner that he did about 3 years ago. And then, as I mentioned today to the group, I had a talk with him at the Republican National Convention last summer in Milwaukee. And we literally, it was just a very short conversation. I mean, we knew each other kind of to see each other, but didn't really know each other well. But we talked then about risk and danger of being out in public. And Trump had just been shot in the ear in Pennsylvania a few days before that. So it was the topic on everyone's minds. And he and I talked about it for a while. And he was, as I said here, he was reconciled. Like, he knew that going out in public and doing the things that he did could be dangerous, but he believed in his mission, and he believed in what he was doing, and he thought it was worth it. And I think everything that's happened since he was assassinated has proved he was right. It was worth the risk of what he was doing to have an effect on the culture in a way that few people can have.
I've never met the man. I've only known him through watching videos of him, watching clips of him, hearing him talked about in conservative circles, and then watching him long form, watching him in all other areas. I've never met the man.
But out of curiosity then, he's actually been sort of a Gen Zer or a very, very late millennial around the age of 30 or 31 when he had been assassinated. Did you ever take to wondering if, as he was one of the highest profile youth in that age, who among the same age demographic might actually be able to fill his shoes in the right sphere or even center of right for him?
Are you asking
if there's anyone, is there anyone who could fill the void that's on the right of that same age?
I don't have an answer. There are a lot of podcasters I watch. I don't know that the Lord has guided anybody to fill Charlie's shoes just yet. I don't know what that looked like. I don't know what that would be. But I have faith that the Lord is going to provide and will guide all of us in our actions and our thoughts. But somebody will step up, I'm sure.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I do want to caution about thinking about Charlie Kirk too much in purely political terms. He was bigger than politics. His influence was culture-wide. But I don't know that there is one person who's going to replace him. I know that the kind of pundit and internet person, Ben Shapiro, has kind of claimed some of the mantle that Kirk held. But I don't think any one person's going to replace him. I think it's going to have to be a group. You're seeing some of the memes out there. We're all Charlie Kirk. And I think it's something like that.
There's been basically stirring, but usually people have chalked it up to theater or posture whenever there are legislatures or even state officials that they hold up a vote, and this is basically something of a quorum withholding, where they leave the state in order to prevent legislation like redistricting or even outright voting on amendments. So then my question was, when hearing about this, taking into account how it stirs differences and even talk of separation in the U.S., how do you feel if you hear about Texas legislatures from the Democrats leaving for Illinois, but are not as penalized as the very next door neighbor Oregon Republicans, who did separate to withhold a vote but are much more penalized? What is your take to much of what's happening around that, even just from first hearing of it?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that question. You're talking about quorum requirements. Every state legislator has a different quorum requirement for how many members have to be present in the Capitol or on the floor in order for the legislature to do business. In Washington State, our quorum requirements are very simple. It's a simple majority. establishes quorum. So we don't have the kind of game playing with legislators going to another state to deny quorum, to deny the ability to have enough people on the floor to do business. We don't have that here in Washington. And as for the stuff going on in Texas or California, other states, a lot of the quorum requirement games are frankly political theater. I don't think they're very serious.
Well, first off, I think the legislators, I understand it's a tactic to employ. I would rather see them stay. And punishment in Texas versus punishment in Oregon, they're separate entities. They have the right to manage and institute punishments as they see fit. I would say though, it's a shining example of the gracefulness of the Republican Party and Republicans to be more gracious to those that didn't show up as opposed to the Democrats, to the Republicans who didn't show up in Oregon.
And actually, it was kind of interesting because would you feel that then, by extension, debates like the Texas redistricting, or even, for instance, the Greater Idaho movement, do you think those coming from those at center or on the right have a good?
We need to line this up.
Yeah, were they able to actually get a good balance in politics, or do you think they, unlike their Democrats, are less likely to flip and secede like the Cascadia seems bent on in the West Coast?
Well, again, secession is not really, it's not practical. And the way we do redistricting in Washington State is different than other states also. We do redistricting in Washington State with a bipartisan commission that's appointed every 10 years after the census. And so we don't have, the legislature itself doesn't do redistricting. In many states, the legislature handles redistricting, and it becomes very partisan, and that's where you get the gerrymandering happening. Here in Washington, because we have a 2-and-2 bipartisan commission, we don't have that kind of game playing. Our trouble in Washington, if there is any with redistricting, has to do with the courts getting involved and bad faith lawsuits by organizations like One America that try to challenge the commission's redistricting decisions. That's the risk here in Washington.